shadows in the night. It was a dreary, rain-soaked night when Thomas found himself craving a late-night snack. The clock struck midnight as he navigated the empty streets, the world outside dim and unsettling. As he pulled into the nearly deserted McDonald's parking lot, the glowing golden arches offered a promise of warmth and comfort. He stepped out of his car, the chill of the night wrapping around him like a cloak, and entered the restaurant. Inside, the aroma of fries and burgers welcomed him, momentarily easing his unease. The place was mostly empty, with a couple of tired patrons hunched over their meals. Thomas approached the counter and placed his order, trying to shake off the feeling that something was off. He glanced outside, and a flicker of movement caught his eye. A figure lurking in the shadows, watching. Brushing it off as paranoia, he took his food to a booth in the corner. As he bit into his burger, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The figure outside stood beneath the streetlight, motionless, sending a chill down his spine. Suddenly, the door swung open and a masked man entered, water cascading from his dark clothing. "Everyone on the ground." His voice was low and commanding. The atmosphere shifted as fear rippled through the restaurant. Thomas's heart raced. He felt paralyzed, unable to react as the masked man approached the counter, brandishing a knife. "Empty your pockets," the intruder ordered. Panic surged through Thomas. He fumbled with his wallet, feeling a primal instinct to flee, but he remained frozen. "Do it," the man shouted again, stepping closer. With trembling hands, Thomas dropped his wallet onto the table. "Just take it and go," he pleaded. The masked man's eyes gleamed with desperation, and Thomas couldn't help but notice a flicker of fear beneath the mask. "Your phone too," the man barked. Thomas hesitated but quickly tossed his phone onto the table. The masked man snatched both items, his movements frantic. "Now get on the ground," he commanded. Thomas obeyed, feeling the cold tiles against his cheek. The tension in the room was suffocating. He could see the masked man's wild eyes as he turned to the employee. "Open the register." The employee fumbled nervously, and just as the register clicked open, a loud crash echoed from outside. The masked man froze, glancing back at the door, eyes wide with fear. "Police, drop your weapon," a voice shouted from outside. In an instant, the masked man bolted for the exit, disappearing into the rain-soaked night. The officers rushed in, their flashlights cutting through the dim light. "Is everyone okay?" one officer called out as he surveyed the scene. Thomas felt a wave of relief wash over him, but also a lingering sense of dread. As he recounted the events to the officers, he noticed that the masked man had left behind a small, crumpled piece of paper. It lay near the booth, partially hidden beneath the table. After the officers left, Thomas felt compelled to investigate. He carefully picked up the paper, heart pounding, and unfolded it. Scrawled in hasty handwriting were a series of numbers and a name. Marcus. Thomas's pulse quickened. Was this the masked man's name? Why had he left it behind? He felt an urge to understand the man who had turned his night upside down. Days passed, and Thomas found himself unable to shake the feeling of unease. Each night, he replayed the encounter in his mind, the image of the masked man haunting him. Driven by a need for answers, he began to search for any mention of Marcus in local news or social media. Then, one evening, as he scrolled through a forum dedicated to local crime, he stumbled upon a post that made his heart race. Marcus, a local man, missing after a series of strange occurrences. Friends say he's been struggling. Thomas's mind raced. The masked man hadn't just been a criminal, he was a person in distress. A chill ran down his spine as he realized that the desperation in Marcus's eyes had not just been fear of being caught. It had been something deeper, something troubling. Determined to find Marcus, Thomas decided to visit the area mentioned in the post. As he drove through the rain, the shadows of the night loomed larger than life. He parked near an abandoned building, its windows shattered and covered in grime. He stepped out, the cold wind biting at his skin, and approached the entrance. The darkness inside seemed to swallow him whole. Just as he turned to leave, he heard a voice, a whisper, barely audible. "Help! Me!" Thomas's heart raced as he spun around, the weight of the night pressing down on him. The voice seemed to come from deeper within the building. With trepidation, he stepped inside, drawn by the haunting plea, but before he could take another step, the door slammed shut behind him. The sound echoed in the hollow space, and Thomas felt a surge of panic. He was trapped, the shadows closing in around him.